Welcome to the Google Cloud Security Showcase, a special web series where we'll focus on security use cases that customers can solve with Google Cloud. My name is Aspen Sherrill, and I'm a cloud security architect at Google. Today, we're discussing VPC Service Controls, or VPCSC in short, our solution for preventing data exfiltration from managed services in Google Cloud. Specifically, we'll be discussing the integration of identity and access management, or IAM, roles directly into your service perimeter ingress and egress policies. Ingress and egress rules are fundamental to controlling the granular authorized flows that cross your perimeter boundaries. Traditionally, these rules are built with from and to criteria. The from criteria would specify identity and sources, while the to criteria would specify projects and then the services and methods that those principals could execute against those APIs. The introduction of IAM role support is a fundamental shift in that last part. That is, how we tell VPCSC what services and methods we want a principal to be able to execute against those services inside your perimeter. Consider, for example, this ingress rule. I've written it for principals who need to access BigQuery within my environment and view data. This rule is telling VPCSC that I want these principals to be able to execute these methods against this service, in this case, BigQuery. Consider now the BigQuery Data Viewer IAM role. An IAM role defines a subset of services and the methods that a given principal has permission to execute against those services. And as it so happens, my users in this rule have the BigQuery Data Viewer role. So my ingress rule is granting access that mirrors the components of the IAM role. But I've had to create it manually, consuming several attributes that count against my attribute quota to do so. In a way, I've reinvented the wheel just to get these users the access that they need inside my perimeter. This is where IAM role support comes in. Now, instead of my manually recreating the access criteria that fits the role that my users need, I can instead just reference the IAM role itself. Here's an example of my previous ingress rule now recreated with the IAM role instead. Notice how I went from many attributes consumed, defining methods, to just one attribute for the role. Now there's a few key points I want to call out here. First, this is still just telling VPCSC the same thing that the manually created rule did earlier. It's essentially telling VPCSC, hey, for traffic matching this rule, only allow operations whose required permissions are a subset of the permissions granted in this IAM role. VPCSC will not do an actual IAM permissions check. It doesn't care what IAM roles a principal holds. Instead, it checks the definition of the specified IAM role to determine the set of allowed operations for that rule. Let's see this in action. So, in my demo environment, I am a BigQuery admin. As far as IAM is concerned, I hold the keys to my BigQuery kingdom. But since VPCSC is in place, right now, I am completely blocked out of my BigQuery instance altogether. But let's say I added my own identity to this ingress rule. Then the only methods I would be able to execute would be the methods associated with the BigQuery Data Viewer role, because those are the methods VPCSC has been told to allow in this rule. In that same vein, VPCSC can't and won't grant IAM permissions. Let's say I wasn't an admin and that I only held the BigQuery Data Viewer role. And let's say the Ingress rule specified the BigQuery admin role. I would still only be able to perform data viewer activities because IAM checks further down the line would block my attempting to execute a method I didn't actually hold IAM permissions for. I want to call out that this feature supports both predefined and supported custom roles. That's especially useful for organizations because oftentimes they'll already have gone through the work to create custom roles for specific job roles within their organization. And supporting custom roles means that they don't have to reinvent the wheel to grant that specific access into their perimeter. Now, there's a few caveats to be aware of, especially depending on when you're viewing this video. Not all services have integrated with the new IAM roles feature as of the time of recording. So we are operating a rolling schedule integrating with the highest priority services first. On that same note, because VPCSC is enforced at the project level at this point in time, only project level permissions are evaluated in the role. If the role also references an org level service, those references are simply ignored by VPCSC because VPCSC doesn't currently enforce at the org level. Make sure to consult the documentation for the precise mappings of roles to permissions used by VPCSC for this feature, and to see the current list of supported services, and to see if there are any specific caveats or limitations for a given service. It is critical to understand which permissions are included in the roles you specify in your VPCSC rules, and how those will be applied in your perimeter allow listing. So, to recap, supporting IAM roles will allow administrators to quickly and easily grant the specific granular access their principals need via predefined and custom roles without reinventing the wheel, whilst dramatically reducing the number of attributes consumed in doing so. This will simplify the administration and maintenance of VPCSC perimeters in the long term. But do read the current product documentation to get more familiar with the new feature and its capabilities. To learn more about VPCSC, watch our other videos or visit our product page.